Yeah, we as an analyst company are always keen to look ahead of time, and we were interested to understand what are the top cybersecurity topics next year. And since everyone has 10, so we thought 11 is a much nicer number, so we have 11. So yeah, what are the top security topics next year? But we were also interested to understand how do they relate to each other. So what topic do people think is most important compared to others? So that was certainly something we were interested in. And we also wanted to understand, is there a difference in between how, if you ask CISOs, how they would rate on the top security topics or on other cybersecurity experts? And if so, what is the difference? And then we also ask people, all right, so you rated now these 11 topics. Is there anything else which you think is important for next year? And people came back with certain ideas here. And finally, we wanted to make this not only a theoretical exercise, but also wanted to understand what are people planning to do next year. So what is their book of work for 2021? So and we asked them precisely, what are the 3 top priorities you are working on next year? And that's also interesting to see whether there are any differences to what the people thinking are the top topic, the top security topics versus what they are working in practice. So how did we select the topics? Obviously, the topics were selected by KuppingerCole Analysts, obviously based on their research and based on the interactions with clients. And of course, whom did we ask? We asked the participants of this conference, the Cybersecurity Leadership Summit members or participants, and we also asked hand-selected CISOs of rather large organizations about their opinion. And now let's jointly look at the outcome. I will start off with number 11. And number 11 is decentralized identity is gaining momentum. Why this matters? Everyone is aware of stolen personal identifiable information, Equifax. It's quite some years back. The Cambridge Analytical case in 2018. And it's clear the ability to prove who you are and who you say you are is critical in a more and more digital economy. And with decentralized identity, with that technology, the control of that is being given back to the people themselves. So whether it's blockchain based or non-blockchain based, etc., that's, I believe, still an open question, but it's a hot topic and it's rated number 11. Let's move on. Number 10, the role of the CISO continues to change. It's still interesting to see to whom a CISO actually reports. In many cases, it's the CIO, for example. But of course, this has advantages, but also disadvantages. And sometimes, and we all know that the CISO agenda is a different one than the CIO agenda. And since CIOs are more elevated in the hierarchy, in the organizational hierarchy, it's not seldom the case that the CIO wins. We also see a convergence to other roles such as the chief data protection officer, chief security officer, etc. And in many organizations, these other roles are combined to the CISO role as well. So that's changing, and of course that has implications, because the CISO with this changed role has even more has to have more communication skills. A CISO even said, I have to be a psychologist to talk to all the people and to understand what they are thinking and what is driving their behavior. And that are almost similar critical skills like to have technical skills. Number 9, security in the SAP ecosystem. I think you heard a presentation earlier today about this topic, and it's amazing because in the SAP system, I mean, for many organizations, SAP is their backbone. It holds the most critical data, and it's amazing how little attention management and organizations pay to the security of these systems. But that seems to change now. So the topic was rated 9, which is an indication that it is increasing attention, and I think we should do a lot more research around this topic in order to get on top of it. Topic number 8. Security is a key feature for Internet of Things. According to a survey Computerwoche did, 80% of the companies believe that Internet of Things is important to them. And I think we heard a wonderful presentation earlier today about IoT systems even, which says that, of course, IoT systems consist of many devices coming from all kinds of providers, and they produce an enormous amount of data. And if you don't pay attention to security at the very beginning, it will be very hard to stay on top of things and have things under control. And without security, the whole advantage of Internet of Things is going away or is becoming very dangerous. So security is clearly a key feature for Internet of Things. So which topic is now scoring 7? And it's sort of hanging together with Internet of Things. It's supply chain security. When you think of where do our devices come from? They come from countries like China, mainly, but also from others where we don't know what's really in there. And it's, of course, not sufficient to only have the third-party risk in mind. You also need to look at the fourth party, perhaps even the fifth party risk, and you get the idea. It's becoming very difficult and complex. However, if you want to control about the full supply chain, this is necessary to stay on top of things. So number 7, supply chain security. An evergreen is number 6. Cybersecurity competence building remains a challenge for all organizations. We've heard that for years, so that's nothing new. The question is, have our approaches in the past worked? Obviously not, at least not to the sufficient extent. So the question is, what are we doing now, right? So does it help to have more focus? Does it help to approach things differently? Does it help to throw even more people on the problems? Or do we need new technologies such as artificial intelligence to help us to manage the workload in that regard. Interesting questions to analyze, and it remains a hot topic. And everyone who is working in that environment can be happy because he's wanted, he or she. Now we come to the top 5. Security topic number 5, identity-defined security, or with other words, identity is the new perimeter. For many, many years, we all believed that the network is the perimeter of the security. But with the tools, with the devices and the procedures, they can be placed everywhere, inside, outside the network, along the value chain, to the clients, to partners, etc. The network has lost its importance. It's now the identity, and that is even more true in cloud environments, for example. And since attackers are becoming even more sophisticated, we need new approaches to protect the identity. New approaches, for example, zero trust is one. And of course, again, I mentioned that artificial intelligence. And this brings me to topic number 4. Artificial intelligence is increasingly used by both cyber attackers and defenders. So with an ever-increasing number of highly sophisticated cyber attacks and a constantly changing threat landscape, the need for enhanced defensive capabilities has never been higher than today. With traditional methods reaching their limits, artificial intelligence can help. For example, with increased threat detection capabilities or streamlined investigation and response processes. It can also help, I mentioned that already, to overcome the skills crisis. But of course, it is also necessary to measure to what extent artificial intelligence can really help. With other words, how intelligent artificial intelligence really is. So we need benchmarks, KPIs, etc. Interesting topic. Now let's come to top 3. Number 3, and this is of course the topic of the year if you want, securing the remote workforce. Of course, the ongoing pandemic has forced us into a remote working economy without having had the time to prepare for it. And this is challenging for the employees itself. I think some organizations, of course, have prepared themselves for that kind of situation. Others, they were simply short of devices, so they had to very, very quickly order laptops and other things to equip their employees so that they can actually work from home, which was a challenge because everyone needed to do that. Of course, others have, with strong bring your own device capabilities, were in a better place, provided the company had done its homework in advance. But in many cases, the people just used their own devices without the companies and the organizations have prepared for that. And of course, that introduced lots of problems. So the organizations now need to catch up and make sure that the right measures and the right capabilities are in place to get this done. And it's obviously still seen as a problem even for next year. Topic number 3. Topic number 2 is actually no surprise, I believe, to anyone here. Hybrid cloud security. Since the hybrid cloud model makes the most sense for most companies, and it of course introduces security challenges. However, when done properly, a hybrid infrastructure should help even to improve an organization's security posture. However, the security must be from the very beginning part of the cloud strategy, and if that is the case, I think there's a good chance to stay on top of things, perhaps even improve security situation of an organization. So hybrid cloud security will be a topic, a hot topic next year, and this is why it's scored 2. And now everyone is keen to see what is number 1, what is the most relevant security topic of the year 2021 seen by you all, basically. The winner is zero trust. So don't trust anyone, never trust, always verify. That is the hot topic. And of course, it relates to a lot of other topics I just mentioned. They are, of course, not completely independent from each other. They all hang together. But this is the topic which scored the highest. Most people voted for it. And that will keep us certainly busy for next year. What other topics are important? Oh, here's the overall voting as a summary. So here you can see number 1, obviously zero trust. I mentioned that, down to 11, decentralized identity, according to your votings. This is an interesting one. How did the CISOs actually see things? And when you look at these results, it's pretty in line, except 1 or 2 exceptions. One would be the CISOs voted supply chain security as the most important topic, even before zero trust. I think the overall voting supply chain security only scored 6 or 7, I believe. It's also interesting that the CISOs, they think that the heightened role of the CISO is not so important than the security experts think. So that's another observation I had. But other than that, it's more or less in line with the overall voting. So no big surprises except supply chain security. So what are the top 3 priorities organizations want to work on next year? And when you look at the list of things, it's pretty in line with also the priorities we just seen. So you would find obviously zero trust in there. You would find third-party risk in there. You would find IoT security in there. So it's exactly what we just talked about. So no surprises. In the identity area, obviously, it's also a zero trust topic. Centralization of identity and access management is still a topic. We already heard this morning that the healthcare is an important industry and has to catch up with security here as well. That's people. This is what people are saying. In the access management area, we heard it multiple times. 2FA, 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 and of course multi-cloud, remote working, privileged access management are the topics. Cloud and 5G is a topic for next year. And business and regulation, of course, make sure you spend the money on the right topics, remains to be a hot topic. And of course, comply with latest regulation. I do hope you find this inspirational. I think I had a lot of fun to do that survey, to talk to people what they think about it and what they come back uh, with what they came back. And yeah, it will give us a lot of food for thought and also activities for next year. With that, I hand it back to Lauren.